on an unrelated matter is the reason for the calling of this press conference. Since the terrible events of October 7, 2023, we have witnessed a number of appalling anti-Semitic attacks against Australia's Jewish community. I've made it clear that these sorts of incidents have no place in Australia and that I wanted ASIO and the AFP to investigate as a priority. ASIO has now gathered enough credible intelligence to reach a deeply disturbing conclusion that the Iranian government directed at least 2 of these attacks. Iran has sought to disguise its involvement, but ASIO assesses it was behind the attacks on the Lewis Continental Kitchen in Sydney on October 20 last year and the Adass Israel Synagogue in Melbourne on December 6 last year. ASIO assesses it is likely Iran directed further attacks as well. These were extraordinary and dangerous acts of aggression orchestrated by a foreign nation on Australian soil. They were attempts to undermine social cohesion and sow discord in our community. It is totally unacceptable, and the Australian government is taking strong and decisive action in response. A short time ago, we informed the Iranian ambassador to Australia that he would be expelled. We have suspended operations at our embassy in Tehran, and all our diplomats are now safe in a third country. I can also announce the government will legislate to list Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, as a terrorist organisation. I've said many times that the Australian people want 2 things. They want killing in the Middle East to stop, and they don't want conflict in the Middle East brought here. Iran has sought to do just that. They have sought to harm and terrify Jewish Australians and to sow hatred and division in our community. The actions of my government send a clear message, a message to all Australians that we stand against anti-Semitism and we stand against violence, and a message to nations like Iran who seek to interfere in our country that your aggression will not be tolerated. I'll hand over to the ASIO Director General, Mike Burgess, and then hear from the Foreign Minister and the Home Affairs Minister.
Thank you, Prime Minister. In this year's annual threat assessment, I warned Australia's complex, challenging and changing security environment is becoming more dynamic, diverse and degraded. Dynamic because we're confronting an increasing number of threats. Diverse because some nation states are using criminal proxies to undertake acts of foreign interference, espionage and politically motivated violence. Degraded because authoritarian regimes are more willing to engage in reckless, high-harm activities. Unfortunately, all 3 of those characteristics apply in this case. For the past 10 months, anti-Semitism has been one of ASIO's most pressing priorities, involving the full use of our capabilities and powers. We have investigated dozens of incidents targeting Jewish communities, places of worship, businesses and prominent individuals. ASIO now assesses the Iranian government directed at least 2 and likely more attacks on Jewish interests in Australia. Our painstaking investigation uncovered and unpicked the links between the alleged crimes and the commanders in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. The IRGC used a complex web of proxies to hide its involvement. This is the sort of obfuscation and boundary blurring I warned about earlier this year. It's important to understand that ASIO is both a collector of intelligence and assessor of intelligence. Formal assessments such as this one are not done quickly or taken lightly. Our analysts carefully weigh and weight every piece of intelligence. In this case, their conclusions are clear. ASIO is still investigating possible Iranian involvement in a number of other attacks, but I want to stress we do not believe the regime is responsible for every act of anti-Semitism in Australia. It goes without saying, Iran's actions are utterly unacceptable. They put lives at risk, they terrified the community, and they tore at our social fabric. Iran and its proxies literally and figuratively lit the matches and fanned the flames. I want to assure all Australians that ASIO and our law enforcement partners take these matters extremely seriously. You do not just have the right to be safe, you have the right to feel safe.